Ready, Chairman.
All right. I'd like to call to order the Parks and Urban Forestry Board meeting for March 20th, 2025. May I get a roll call, please?
Yes, Member Poindexter,
Tim Poindexter here.
Eric Riddles,
Present.
Aubrey Shore here, Martha Turner is not present, and Carol Seed is not present.
All right, and I'm here, so we do have a quorum. All right. Action item number 2, consider approval of minutes for January 16th, 2025, the Parks and Urban Forestry Board meeting. So if y'all want to look that over, any comments? If it looks good.
Put them over.
I don't have it.
Here we go.
Do you want?
Here you go. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Tim.
Always prepared.
All looks good. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve first.
All right, got a motion. Second? Second. All right, let's vote. All in favor? Vote aye.
Aye.
4-0. All right, agenda item number 3, presentation from GH2 Architects and Crossland Construction on the design and progress for the Highland Park Pool Project for board's input and approval of staff recommendations. Denny?
Yes, Board. I'd like to welcome Daniel up to the front. He is with GH2. They've worked extremely hard on putting us together a design for our pool based off of what staff and our committee has worked trying to stay within budget to design, and I will turn it over to him. I think he's got a short PowerPoint to kind of share with you guys to kind of bring you guys up to speed on where we're at with the pool.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you all
Sure.
for having me today.
Thank you for being here.
The PowerPoint. There we go. All right. So I'm Daniel Smith from GH2 Architects. I'm an associate principal and project manager for this project. And so we're going to talk about the municipal swimming pool over at Highland Park on the east side of Guthrie. So the existing pool is roughly about 7,000 square feet in surface area. It was built in kind of the early 30s, and so it hasn't been used in the past couple of years. It's in pretty rough state at the current time. Kind of the maintenance of it is taking a big toll on the city. It requires a lot of upkeep, and the equipment for the pool itself has kind of run its lifespan. And so we've taken a look at the existing facilities, the bathhouse, the equipment building, the pool, and the deck, and have come up with some designs to carry it forward, have a new pool design, and renovate the existing bathhouse and equipment building. So as you can see here, a few different views of the existing pool, kind of the different shape. It also has an accessibility problem, so there's not a lot of accessibility with the current design, whether that's getting in and out of the pool itself onto the deck, or getting from the existing bathhouse down to the pool deck. So, and then the existing bathhouse. So we'll kind of talk about this here in just a second, but given the budget, the first priority is renovating and doing a new pool. And so what we're going to be doing is renovating the inside of the bathhouses, and then depending on how costs come in with bidding, we've got a few alternates for the exterior, whether that's paint, lighting, other things, just to kind of brighten up the outside. But the character of the building will most of it will remain as it is. So, but as you can see, the current conditions inside of the bathhouse, it's kind of all piecemeal together. It's it winds, twists, and turns. The current facilities are not ADA accessible. The floors have quite a few sloping issues within them. And then within the equipment building, as you can see in the bottom center picture, because of the pool chemicals that are within there, they've completely corroded the original structure and roof. So there's now currently another roof on top of that. And so we'll be going in and removing both of those and putting in new structure. So kind of taking a look at the whole design. So we will be fully demolishing the current pool deck and then demolishing the first few feet of the pool shell so that we can kind of get some economy in that. So we'll keep the deep end because the new pool that we're putting in should fit within that footprint. We're downsizing it from the original size based off the city's numbers. They were only getting about 30 people per day at the pool. And so to kind of bring new life to it, bring it up, make it better for families, it's a zero depth entry pool. So there on the left-hand side, kind of where you see that 12, it's a zero depth and then it goes down and the deepest it'll get is 5 feet. So it'll have a nice play area for younger kids in the zero entry area. There will be geysers, so little spray features coming out of the water. And then there's also kind of a toddler slide there where item number 12 is. And then on the right side of the pool, number 11, there will be a vortex slide. So go down in kind of a spiral shape to go into the deep end. So, and then the new deck, we'll pour a new deck. The reasoning that we're keeping it kind of roughly the same size, we are kind of pulling it back on the north side, but this will give a chance in the future if you need to expand or if you want to add a splash pad or other features, you've got that. And then as of right now, you'll have plenty of space for patrons to lay out and have space to kind of spread out whether they want to, you know, tan or set up little picnics or whatever they would like to do on site. So. Then we are increasing the accessibility. So if you see items number 5 and 4, we're doing new steps and stairs, which will have code compliant railings and step heights and everything. And then we're also providing a ramp to get down from that bathhouse level down to the deck level. And then the current shade structures, they're fairly new. So what we're looking into is to reuse those. So we'll remove them from their current spot and then move them down the way so they can be reused and we get some economy with that. And then we are bringing back concessions at deck level in the kind of bottom north side of the bathhouse there at item number 7. There's a small space that's currently being used for storage, but we're going to bring that back as a concessions stand so that patrons don't have to go inside of the bathhouse to get snacks. Then we'll go into more detail with items number 8 and 7, but number 9, the existing public restrooms, we're not doing much to them, but as an alternate, just because we are repainting the exterior of the equipment building, if we have the funds for it, come bidding, we'll repaint the exterior so it looks nice, and then replace some of the toilet partitions inside of it. So with the bathhouse, we're essentially gutting it so that we can do new showers, pretty much new everything. It'll be somewhat of a symmetrical layout so that men's and women's match on both sides. But the idea is to kind of open up the flow down the middle of it. So we'll have a central kind of lobby area where staff can sit at a central desk so they can see people going in and out of the space and have a good view of people going in and out of the locker rooms. So we're moving kind of everything around the periphery. Currently, water, all those lines are brought in overhead. And so to save money, we will still be pulling them in overhead, but we're going to be doing it out of copper tubing, covering everything up. It'll be nice and finished so that you'll have a very nice structure for people to use going into the future. New toilets and then new dry changing spaces. We are going to do a concrete topping slab on top of it to fix the slope issues within the space. And then you'll see item number 4 is providing a family restroom. So that'll be a completely enclosed restroom that has an ADA accessible shower and toilet, but room if someone needs that space within there. And then in the equipment room, so all new equipment systems for the pool. So new filters, new everything. And so we're utilizing the existing space, pulling everything out and putting new equipment in. We'll see on the right-hand side, item number 2, kind of fix that corrosion issue. We have 2 chemical storage rooms, one for the chlorine and then one for the pH balancer. So those are in their own space. They'll have their own exhaust, and it's all under a new controlled system, so it's easier to operate. It's all very finely balanced so that you don't have people kind of guessing at what they're doing. But it'll keep corrosion from happening within the space. And then with the roof structure, like I said, we're replacing that. So new steel deck, and then just a TPO roof on top of that. But we'll also have high performance coatings in here, which will protect everything from the corrosive environment. And then as we discussed with the public restrooms, kind of some new cosmetic features. And then schedule, right now we're in construction documents. So we're kind of halfway through that construction documents period. No, Crossland, they'll talk about that a little bit more here in a second, but we'll issue final documents here at mid-May, and then it'll go out to bid. And the goal is to start construction in July and August and be ready to open for the swim season of 2026. I know I went through quite a bit of information there, but if there's any questions or if we need to back up to any slides, please let me know.
So with the storage room and the problems with that, would it be more ideal to have it completely isolated? Or is the new design, 'cause you're separating the 2 chemicals, you're ventilating it?
Yeah, so within this existing space, and this is something fairly typical for storing these materials and the systems that are within these rooms, but by partitioning them off and giving them their own space with their own exhaust and everything, it really keeps it from causing the issues that you saw in the pictures before, the corrosion within the entire space. So.
Is that functional, or would it be better to have it in its own little building?
The way it's shown right now is functional,
That is
and that's
modern.
how it's done quite a bit. You can do it outside, but the issue with doing it outside is you then have to go through the wall for any of the piping for when it feeds the water system with the chemicals.
Okay. So, and we're replacing the water lines with copper? Is that what you said?
That's within the bathhouse, yes. So all new copper.
Is that because they're overhead? You don't use PEX?
They also last a lot longer than PEX lines, so it's a higher quality product. PEX is not a bad product, and if cost comes down to it, that is an option for some savings, but copper will just have more longevity over time.
Wouldn't the PEX not freeze?
So, go back to the bathhouse. The way the city handles the maintenance on this building is during the winter.
Yeah.
It'll
it's
be
not-
drained down,
Yeah.
so you'll have no
The freezing
water.
shouldn't be an issue. Okay.
Right, correct.
Are we able to salvage the sewer line, or are we having to go into the cement and reestablish those?
Underneath the bathhouse?
Yeah.
So there will be some work to that to connect in new lines and make sure all of our elevations work with new drainage, but the goal is to keep as much as
that's
we
good.
can, so.
That's good.
I guess I have a simple question, nothing big or anything, just kind of curious. For the family restroom, will it be something like a baby changing station or something? Is that even needed
Yes.
at a pool? I don't know, just
Yeah.
curious.
So it will have a baby changing station within there. So yeah, kind of On the top wall,
Right.
between the sink and the toilet.
Okay, I didn't want to assume, I was like, that would be okay.
Yes.
And also, I guess one other thing is just like, any type of safety features, things that we can consider for like the bathroom stalls, that they don't like, get some kid trapped in there or something like that. Just another thought.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I think the idea, sorry. With the dry changing stations and the toilets, that's going to be your typical style toilet partition where, the bottom 10, 12 inches
Right,
is
right.
open so you can see under there. I think with the family restroom, the idea is that would be an accompanied minor that would be using
Sure.
that. A caretaker going in there if they need to change a diaper and kind of want a little privacy with that.
Sure. Awesome.
I like the design. I mean, it looks functional to me. Keeping as much as we can.
Any other comments or questions?
I don't think so. How long is construction projected to take?
I'll let Aaron Stoops from Crossland.
My name's Aaron Stoops, Vice President, Crossland Construction. Was asked to come here today to kind of talk about our budget and schedule to answer that question. So currently schedule, we're looking at about a 7-month type of project. Now, you take the pool out of it, it's probably 2 months worth of renovation work to the bathhouse and to the equipment building. So what's really our controlling factor here is the pool itself. Those guys alone will probably take about 7 months. In that 7 months, we'll be able to, fully complete everything else that has to do with the project and kind of just be waiting on them. So as Daniel kind of spoke to earlier, documents will be prepared in probably May. That'll create a bid sequence for us into June. We'll be coming back for council approval on whatever that cost is. At that point, we'll get started. And again, looking at kind of that 7-month timeline. So really where that puts us is completing the project kind of into January, which is probably the worst time on the planet to commission a pool, right? We don't want to fill up, those thousands and thousands of gallons in that pool and then the whole thing freeze, right? So it might be something where, we finish the pool, finish all the construction on it, maybe have to wait till March or April. We really just need about a good week and a half above 32 degrees consistently and something we can really count on to be able to commission the pool, train the city on how to use it, all its functionality, and then essentially hand the keys over before the 26 swim season. So that's with the schedule. In terms of budget, we are looking at about $2 million right now in terms of our budget. About 40% of that is the pool costs, itself. So that's really a controlling factor to it. We do in this time on helping to budget reach out to subcontractors in the community who know exactly what this is going to take, what it's going to cost. So right now we have some costs from one of the best pool guys around. So I mean that could easily that being such a majority portion of the budget, somebody else comes in and gives a better number, and that could change dramatically. So Daniel kind of spoke to different alternates, the bathroom, over in the equipment building, things like that. Obviously, if that the bid prices come down a little bit with our bid, we'll be able to squeeze those extra little pieces into it at that point. So, but it's kind of, I guess, the majority of what I need to speak about. But if you guys got any questions about the construction schedule, budget, process of it, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions or comments?
It's pretty clear to me.
Pretty sure. The only other question I would have is how would that affect park life, basically people using the park and things like that with all that construction going on? Would there be sort of any interference, or does it need to be shut down at all at any time?
Yeah, I mean, no, the site is pretty well contained. It's kind of got a natural fence around it right now as it is. So until we demo that fence, and which really the fence is condensing in size, getting a little smaller, so we might be able to maintain that fencing for a while we work inside of it, kind of maintain that, separation from the public. In the bathhouse, the equipment area, we'll probably fence that off with some construction fencing, and really outside of that, the park should be able to operate as normal as always. There's going to be, a few days here or there or something like that the pool contractor is going to have some, pretty extensive work. They may need to, bring some big trucks in and stuff. We might have to close a lane or just a little area, but yeah, no, the majority of the park should stay full functional.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments or questions?
No.
Thank you. All right.
I think, basically, if we could get your guys' buy-in on what we've presented, and from a voting standpoint, as far as park board approval, is kind of where we're at as far as staff goes.
Sure. All right,
I
so
had a question I didn't ask. What is the replacement fence?
Chain link vinyl, black.
Okay.
Black vinyl chain link.
That's what I thought.
all right, so any other comments or questions before we hold the vote?
It seems pretty conservative with what we're salvaging, the sewer line we can, and the pool's a little smaller, not as deep. And sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah, and I'd like to take a second to thank Tenny, Eddie, and the city staff that have done countless hours of work trying to get this pool knocked out. It's been several years and a lot of meetings to get this figured out, and I think we're accomplishing a lot of goals that the community has reached out and spoke about. So I appreciate that. Same with the architects and contractors.
Yes. They've worked really, really hard on trying to stay within a really, really tight budget. I mean, if you remember, we kind of started this process with a 1.5 budget, and here we are already at $2 million. So it's been a struggle, and they've worked really, really hard on trying to stay within them numbers.
We appreciate that. You know, this is one of the oldest parks in the state, and this pool's been around for multiple generations. And through this process, we've heard stories from citizens where they learned how to swim when they were kids. They brought their kids how to learn how to swim there. So I think it's great to continue that for multiple generations in the future. So
The
we appreciate that.
YMCA is going to be extremely happy about it.
I like the accessibility additions. I think that's fantastic. Leveling up floors, all the different amenities like that will actually draw more people to be able to come that maybe not have been able to come ever. So that's really exciting to me. I really like it the best.
Cool.
The only thing I would add, I'd like to echo what Tenny said. Staff has worked really hard on this, but I'll tell you, our partners with GH2 and Crossland have really made this process seamless. We've worked through the issues that have come up with no problem, and I want to commend them and thank them for their hard work. So,
We appreciate it.
Yes, we do.
Thank you. All right, if there's no other comments or questions, we'll go ahead and call a motion to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, that's 4-0, approved. All right, moving on to agenda item number 4, presentation from city staff on the design and progress on the downtown pocket park at the shops for boards input and approval of staff recommendations. Sean, Tenny?
Yeah, I'd just introduce Shonda Rooney, our Economic Development Director for the city. She's kind of brought on the pop-up shops that we have downtown. She's also recently applied for another grant opportunity and has been awarded for the presentation that she's going to present to you guys to get your buy-in and blessing on as well.
Thank you, Tenny.
Thank you.
Shonda?
Right, thank you. My presentation is far less involved than that one, but I think the project will be fun nonetheless. So yeah, if you don't know, this July will be 2 years since we started the retail incubator project, the shops. Since then, the adjacent parking lot has been used pretty often for community events. We started noticing that people were enjoying that lot far more as a community space than they did as a parking lot. So that's where the idea came up to kind of turn it into a pocket park and community space. A great opportunity to add some greenery, some more seating, places for people to just hang out, and then also benefit the events that people like to throw in that area. So to the left, you can see what the parking lot currently looks like. Not very many parking spaces. The surface is in kind of rough shape, and we already have our public pavilion that we added to that space along with a restroom facility there to the south. And in the bottom right corner, you can see the overall layout, which I'll go ahead and move to the zoomed in version. So in the center, you can see an activity lawn where we like to have some planters, some picnic benches, some more seating. We kind of see this as an area that whether it's the farmer's market or if somebody wants to rent out the pavilion for some other type of community event, all of the tables and chairs and things can be movable so that it serves the event the best, whichever one will be using that space. We're also going to feature 4 new trees in the space, add in some flower beds around each one, 4 more benches, I think in total we'll be adding 4 picnic tables, possibly 2 metal. Those are the ADA accessible. We have those already in several of our parks and 2 of those in the shops area already. So it would kind of just be adding on to what's already at the shops. The surface would be decomposed granite, just like we have at the shops right now. So it would it would flow nicely between the 2 spaces, and we would outline the project with a black metal fencing that matches the one that's currently at the shops as well. You can also see up there at the top where we're kind of converting the current entrance into the parking lot into food truck spaces, because most of the events that are held in this area feature at least 1 to 2 food trucks every time. So we wanted to feature a space where food trucks could park easily and it would be accessible for whatever event is hosting in that area. So a couple of things that I will be recommending, but also wanting to get your feedback on, is the type of planters that we'll be featuring in the park. The ones that you see on the left, we actually already have 4 of those in the shops area. It's what we use for planters and also holding our solar light poles. So those are already featured around the shops area as well. And on the right is how I would like to do the flower beds around each tree. So we'll be doing a concrete border around the flower beds, and then possibly try to find a little kind of historic Victorian styled metal, like decorative border to go around each one. Moving on to the type of greenery and the flowers. I love to see colorful flowers in flower beds, but I know flowers tend to have a life cycle. You know, they're not always going to be colorful and bright and beautiful. So a lot of the times with areas like this, downtown planters and stuff, people will usually just do greenery, hostas and things that stay green for an extended period of time. And then moving on to some of the seating options. So everything on the left, those Victorian style benches, the wooden picnic tables and the metal picnic tables, that's what we currently have in the shops area. We have 2 of each. So again, the metal picnic tables, I know they're not very aesthetically pleasing, but they are ADA accessible, so I think it's good to have some of those features in the park. But if y'all were interested in exploring some other options that we don't have, I did include the colorful chairs that you see there are the ones that are featured in Scissortail Park, so they already are a widely popularized style. But if you were interested in some more like colorful bistro seating or maybe some round wooden picnic tables instead of the traditional ones, I'd be open to exploring those options as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'd be interested in getting y'all's feedback and answering any questions y'all may have on the project.
Sure. Any comments or questions?
Well, it's beautiful. Who's going to care for it? I don't see the dudes in the parks board fussing over it. Am I bringing up volunteers, or how will that work?
So I do enjoy gardening, but because I kind of took on the shops as a project that I care about a lot, I do go down and I take care of some of the greenery on my own. However, the shops vendors, whenever they join the project as a new vendor, one of the things that I discuss with them is that is an area that they kind of take ownership of. So they each have their own planter boxes on their building that they take care of, and they just kind of naturally started taking care of the other elements in that area as well. So I will discuss it with them. I mean, it's not going to be mandatory that they take care of it, but I think we'll work together as a team to make sure that it stays nice year round.
I think that's realistic for Guthrie, that we can do it in a volunteer way.
Yeah, I agree.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'll also add that city staff from the Parks Department and Public Works team have been more than willing to jump in and assist, and they've dedicated a lot of time with Shonda, and even Shonda's husband have been out there taking care of the property, but our team has been out there as well. And so going forward, some of the recommendations you'll see on this project include a turf lawn instead of traditional grass.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Part of that is for a low maintenance. Part of it is also because of the high trafficked area. Mm-hmm. So taking both of those things into consideration, yes, we recognize there will be a maintenance factor, but I think our team is ready for it, and that's why we brought it to you.
Mm-hmm. I was just about to say exactly what Eddie was saying. If we go back to the slides, if you look at some of the features on the slides, if we can, go to
The
those
drawing?
right there.
Yeah,
If we go to the, like, we've looked at down in the bottom row, like if we was to choose something like the middle bottom one, we felt like Shonda and myself, we looked at that. People's more apt to set on those and set their drinks there and things of that nature, where we stick with the planters that we currently have, there's less apt to, you know, setting on the sides of them, setting their debris there, and they remain there. So we've tried to keep that all in mind. Also, as Eddie, city manager, has spoke about the turf, there's no mowing of that. It's not going to be just a dirt area. It'll actually stay green and be a turf surface there at all times. And then another thing, with this grant, we're looking at trying to do it all with in-kind labor as well, and that will allow us the ability to put the borders around the flower beds and have them elevated just enough to hold in the mulch and keep it off of it. So we've really tried to look at, as far as maintenance aspects, how we can really minimize that as much as possible as well.
And I think it's important to remember too, I mean, the farmer's market happens almost every Friday. Tammy has done a great job with that event, and she and her vendors also kind of take ownership of that area. They keep it tidy, they keep it looking nice, and I have no doubt that if for any reason somebody needs to step up and take care of it, if any one of us is out of commission, they would, so.
One more thing I'll add to Shonda's presentation with the trees. If you recall back a while back, we had presented you the layout of the trees that Joe Chapel had donated to the project, and we originally had discussed putting 2 of them would be in the brick sidewalk area, and then 2 of them was originally going in the sidewalk area, kind of where the food truck aisle is now. What we've done, we will just scale those in. That way it leaves our sidewalk area in open more rather than taking up that 4-foot space out of that sidewalk. Those 2 plans will kind of marry here.
Yeah.
Important to let you guys know that as well.
So the sidewalk will be unaltered,
The sidewalk would not change any.
but it'll be right next to it where you
We'll just bring those 4 trees that you had voted on in that original plan. Important to let you guys know that we're just bringing them in.
Okay. All right.
Well, that's creative. You get kind of the feel of having a tree at your sidewalk without the problems.
So those 4 corners will be like the planters that you're just talking about?
Yes, and in the activity lawn area, yes, that's where I'm kind of pitching that like barrel planter idea, and it actually kind of fits aesthetically with the Wander Inn being right across the street. They've got the barrel planters all over. Yes.
These are the plans.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha, yeah.
It's a little hard to
And then the
Yeah.
outside corners, those are the trees
These are the
that.
trees.
Yeah.
Those are the-
The trees would just have a square flower bed with a concrete border all the way around, and that's where I would like to put kind of the decorative, kind of Victorian looking like metal accents there.
Again, for keeping people.
Yeah,
like-
yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
It keeps all the mulch and everything in.
As far as the chairs or the seating, things like that concerned, I really do like the colorful chairs. I think that would be really kind of nice. And I'm curious is that how they would be like maintained like throughout the year. Would they have to be put into a storage or something like that certain times of the year, or same thing with like the tables, the ADA accessible ones, things like that?
Yeah, so far with the shops, like I said, this July will be 2 years since we opened that project. We leave those tables out year round, and people will sit there for lunch any given day, even if the shops aren't open. So as long, weather permitting, as long as they aren't deteriorating in any way, we've already kind of seen that a little bit with the wooden picnic tables. They need to be treated in order to stay nice.
Yeah.
But as long as they are staying in good shape, then we'll just happily leave them out for people to enjoy. So.
Okay, so does a decision have to be made on tables or chairs, or can it be both, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so I'm open to your opinions. If you see the 4 rectangles next to each tree, that's where I had proposed those kind of Victorian style benches next to each flower bed. And then those right there. And then the white rectangles, that is where I was pitching having 2 of the metal picnic tables again. And then there in the activity lawn, maybe adding in some of that colorful seating or some of the round picnic tables with some umbrellas for some additional seating inside the activity lawn. So if you guys are open to, my recommendation is going to be to stick with what we have because it's been useful, it fits the aesthetic of the area, and we haven't had any complaints with any of those those. So my recommendation will be to stick with the same style of seating that we already have. But if you guys' opinion is different, then I'd be happy to hear it. So.
I can already hear Historical Society complaining about the colors, the alternative, like that with Sizzle Terra Park. I think this is a design that would be accepted.
Yeah.
I agree.
And that's something you should keep in mind. I think Tammy was getting ready to go there.
Exactly where I was gonna go, just so you guys know, once we go through your board and get kind of feedback from you, Shonda still has to present this to the HPC, get their feedback, their approval for downtown. I think us as a board, we need to keep that in consideration as well.
Sure.
The historic nature of the area and how things fit within that area.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. If there's a color, it should be probably hunter green.
Yeah, I get that. That makes
do
sense.
have
I
a-
didn't think about that.
I do have a couple questions about the tree selection. Has that been decided, or is that something that we can talk about later when we get closer to planting?
I believe we've already discussed it, and it was the bulbs, or the
Bulbs,
Lake
like-
Park elms.
Okay. And that was,
And
that makes,
meeting that we had talked
The one
about.
that
it
Joe
is a
Chapel-
Yeah, okay.
Oklahoma
That
species
meets the
tree.
Joe Chapel design.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because the goal would be to replicate that design further down Oklahoma eventually, I do believe, or in
I
that
believe
little
that-
corridor.
That project is a total of 10 trees, I believe, if I recall, and it does wrap around and comes all the way down and comes partially up Harrison Street. So
I think this would be a great addition to that.
Yeah.
Now, would this be gated off at certain hours, or is this a public park? Or how would that work? Is it like a regular business hours? Is the furniture picked up at 10 PM or something like that, or?
Yeah, so the way that it's been operating at the shops, like I said, the tables always stay out. There's no like closed gate or anything like that. The restroom facility gets locked as soon as the last vendor at the shops leaves. So it's not necessarily an area that we will be like closing down. We do have no soliciting signs. That's pretty much how we've maintained the shops area, so we would do the park area the same way.
Awesome.
It would be like any other park, wouldn't it, to close at
Yeah.
midnight or whatever.
And they
time.
also, whatever the last vendor to leave also puts up any umbrellas or anything that can get, blown away and stuff like that. Turns off any additional lights and things. So.
Are there any other comments or questions?
I don't think so. I like the layout. It's very
I do
nice.
too.
Yeah, I think, yeah, we can,
Yeah, I think
city
it's-
workers and volunteers, we can, it's not over our heads, it's very
Yeah.
doable, yeah.
I think the food trucks will really like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know that they have heard several of them voicing that they'd love an area to park in the shade in the
Yeah.
summertime. But this will still present a great place for them to park. And
Yeah.
I've seen other towns that have an area seclusive for food trucks like this, and it looks like it works out really well.
Yeah, and this layout worked out great too, just with the way that the electrical boxes are lined up out there. The food trucks won't have to be stretching a 100-foot cord across the parking lot for power, so.
That's great.
Well, I really appreciate it, Shonda. I know that you've done a lot of work on this one,
Yeah.
and along with the shops, I think those two are going to go great together, and I think you're offering a much-needed space of shade and in a high-traffic area, especially during the summer with all the events that happen there. So you're going to add a lot of nice space to that area.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, of course,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Of course. And I don't think we need to vote on that. So we will move on to,
Chairman, if you would just, similar to what we did with the pool,
Oh, just
Chief. yeah, if you would just proceed with, you like what you've seen, you've given your recommendations, you've blessed the design. If you just make a motion and vote,
okay, yeah.
please.
I get a motion to approve?
first, I can do the first.
Got a motion, may I get a second?
Second.
Second, all right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's 4 ayes.
So now,
0 nays.
do we need to worry about funding being pulled? It's federal funding?
This is a grant, I do believe.
It's a grant?
It's a 50-50 matching grant from Main Street. So for every dollar that we put in, Main Street matches it. It's through they're running this program through the Department of Commerce. So that's been approved. As soon as we start spending the money, they'll start paying the money back.
So
It's
that
not
has,
one of the projects that are
Right.
being pulled, okay.
And then, as I mentioned, our portion can be in-kind labor. So
Yeah, now-
say if it's a $25,000 matching
Match.
grant, then we can match that with $25,000 worth of labor in construction to put all the pieces together.
Okay, awesome. Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we will move on to agenda item number 5, an update on the Green Team Arbor Day event in Highland Park. I'll go ahead and speak to that. We have picked a date. April 27th is the target date. That's a Sunday. April's a very busy time in Guthrie, so it's hard to find some
good
time to make
day.
this happen, yeah. We have the tree secured as far as what we want to put in there, and we have a couple more just in case we need any extra. So we have that secured. I met with JB out there a couple weeks ago and kind of walked the property and got an idea of what tree we needed to be fixed, and got that targeted. We also have the sign that we want to clean up on that day. We'll be basically painting it back to the gold and black with the Green Team. And then the other project we want to do is a park-wide cleanup. That'll be basically all volunteers going through the whole entire park and doing a good solid cleanup for the springtime. Those things have been secured. We're continuing to meet about it. And yeah, that's where the update is.
I think the only other thing we were just gonna try to see if we could get the ferry houses set up maybe a couple weeks before that, because we planned on maybe having a scavenger hunt involving the finding of the ferry houses during the event for the kids.
Okay.
I got you on that.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got all the ferry houses. They're out at our offices. We'll go ahead and get the post attached to them. That way, if we can get to the point of getting them installed just prior to, that's what I was fixing to ask, if we were still planning on trying to include that in it.
Yes.
That way we can kind of do a, kind of an opening and let the public know that they're out there and what they really are, so that we don't have the incidents that we've had in the past with them.
Absolutely. I think relaunching those with a bigger, better bang, maybe we'll get more attention to them and get more eyes on them.
I agree.
Yeah, so that's the goal. I mean, we're still continuing to, all of this is to raise money for the playground there. Our target goal is $50,000. We have teamed up with Neighborhood Solutions to help handle the fundraising side of it. So that way they can handle the paperwork and it's all through them, and then they'll go from there. So, yeah, that's
All
kind
that
of where we're at.
funding will be through an actual 501(c), so it is a tax write-off for our donors.
Okay. Another thing that I might mention, you might want to consider getting with Justin Fortney on filling out one of the exclusive use applications, so that we can just close that park if we need to for the date of the
Sure.
actual
We'll
stuff.
get that done tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you, Denny. I guess staff report, agenda item number 6.
I will let JP come.
So you hit on some of my stuff here already. One of them was that we have the ferry houses now, so I'm gonna get started on that. I wanted to say, I did see the picnic tables down there, and I'm on it.
I would have gotten to it eventually.
Okay, so, on our dead trees, so we've pretty well got them in all our parks taken care of, except for mineral wells. Those are a big deal. I'm gonna be asking for a little help by the street department on those. But they're on the list, and we're gonna get it. Let's see. So, what's going on? So recently, during our last freeze, we had an electric outage at Guthrie Lake, and we weren't called or notified or anything. So it killed our heaters in our mechanical room, and it blew the plumbing just to smithereens. So we're working on that. That one I don't have up and running yet.
Is that
but
for the
it's-
bathrooms?
We've got all the parts. We just got to get to it. Highland Park, same thing happened, but it wasn't an outage. It just, the pipes come through the pool pump house. Well, that's not heated or anything, so when it gets that kind of cold, it went ahead and busted in. Highland is back open. We've got it done. Let's see. We just recently had the Mid-South event, the bicycle event that we done this weekend. Renaissance Fair set up for that. Right now, we started spraying. You'll see that. We had a little mishap on the East Highway with some dye, but that's fixed now, so. But, let's see. The cemetery. We got done with it today. We done a renovation on the pond area. We cleaned it out and we painted that pond bright white and then blue in the bottom. It is absolutely beautiful. We took out a couple of trees to open it up. So if you make your way out to some view cemetery, see it. It's pretty nice. That's all I got right now. Oh, yes. So some nice person took looks like they took a torch to the playground equipment out at Mitchell Park. And it had already been vandalized several times before. So that is another playground that is in bad need of really being replaced because the parts on it are not, you can't replace the parts.
Right.
They're obsolete. So there's not a lot. We got some flack about it on the internet and stuff. There's not a whole lot we can do about it outside of taking it down.
Yeah.
It is safe. You can use the slide and everything. It just doesn't look pretty, that's all.
And you can't probably remove that because it'll leave an open space where the kids could fall off, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, if we did, we'd have to block it up with wood or something. I mean, Kenny and I really haven't discussed too much about if we do go removing anything, because we know it's safe and it's just ugly.
Right.
What else? That's the only vandalism right now that we. All right, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you, JP. I appreciate it.
I would add to that just a little bit on the vandalism. I do think the playground is safe. I think we'll be able to leave it. It's just aesthetically unpleasing. The slide's kind of melted underneath there on the bottom side. The top side's still safe. The little pieces that they spin, they've melted like 2 or 3 of those. All the rest of them, there's nothing that's going to cut any kid or anything like that. Just informing you guys so you guys do know it was out on Facebook, on social media. If a while back, if you recall, Highland Park did get vandalized as well. We did have to remove that slide, and what we did there was put up a piece of plywood to block off that hole. Again, it's a amenity that is obsolete. You can't just go and buy those slides that match and adapt to that playground system. I believe Highland Park, Mitch Park, Ritzau Park, and Lions Park, all 4 of those parks are reaching the age of 25 years old, those playground systems. So you can't just go buy them amenities and add-ons and that will adapt up to that playground system. So unfortunately, we wish that we could get the vandalism to stop, but it continues, so.
We appreciate y'all's vigilance,
Yeah.
constant, never-ending battle of whatever pops up next.
JB and his guys do a great job and they stay extremely busy.
No, we appreciate it.
Could I ask about the TSET grant that we talked about at the last meeting?
TSEC grant.
It was
pickleball.
the,
On the pickleball courts at Mineral Wells.
Okay, yeah.
Is that your question, Aubrey?
yes. Mhm. Do you recall that one? It was the $100,000 annually for 2 years.
Yes, so we got it submitted. We've not yet heard back. The deadline on that, I believe, was February 12th. So we had our last meeting. Don't quote me on that date. I pulled that out of the top of my head.
I'm pretty sure that's right.
I'm usually pretty good with dates. But we did get it submitted. We had our last staff meeting just right after your last Parks Board meeting. So Dan Kassick, Planning Director, is the lead on that. It is in, and we hope to hear something back relatively soon. So.
Okay. That works.
Thank you, Tenny. Appreciate it. All right. If there's no more comments or questions on staff report, comments or questions from any of the board members? All right. Then I will call the meeting adjourned.